But if you won't sell it to me, why did you tell me I could come here and buy it from you?
I'm sure I make absolutely no sense to you.
No, that was something I said or did. I'm sorry, I'm a little late. The traffic, there was a tie-up.
Yes, of course, that's not the problem.
Then what?
You shouldn't have come. I shouldn't have let you make the appointment.
Professor, your paintings, don't you want to sell them?
Oh, don't call me Professor. Professor, this isn't 40 years ago. This is an introduction to literature too. It was deceitful of you not to mention you're a former student of mine.
I promise you, I meant no offense or deceit.
Coming around here to bother an old lady, I don't need to sell my paintings to strangers.
I'm not entirely a stranger. You were my teacher.
I don't need to sell them at all.
Of course, I would never presume to.
I choose to trade them sometimes. Yes, the barter system, imagine. My neighbor down the road fitted my oil burner last fall for a pretty fair landscape. Lakeshore piece. Come to think of it, in his front hall, I've seen it since.
But there were prices for them on the site, so
You thought you could come here. You thought I'd remember you and welcome you. You thought I would part with them. You came a long way for nothing.
My sister lives nearby in Williamstown. I'm in town for her son's wedding.
Good. So you didn't completely waste a trip. Why can't I remember you?
Perfectly understandable. Nearly 40 years is a long time.
Nothing is perfectly understandable. Besides, I've remembered others who've come, as you students sometimes do. Why can't I place you?
All those years, so many students, a sea of students washing over year after year over there at the U. No.
Heavens, you say the word as if it's the ultimate unthinkable thing. You say, maybe you didn't. You were unremarkable. Were you unremarkable? And when in fact unremarkable is what most of us are most of the time, well, were you unremarkable?
I hope not. You were certainly remarkable to me.
I was a mature female literature prof in a fitted skirt, and you were an undergraduate. Let me guess, possessed of some considerably prurient imagination and of an aspirational, I'd see Bette. I can imagine a few of the ways you might have been remarkable to, I might have been remarkable to you at the time.
It wasn't entirely like that.
Now listen, if you expect me to consider changing my mind and selling you my artwork, you must not lie to me.
Okay, there was definitely a little of that on my part. Maybe some tentative exploratory flirtation.
There, see, I knew it. Maybe I am starting to remember you. Come here a little closer to the light.
It was harmless. I had an active fantasy life.
And how did that work out sufficiently for you?
Just fine. Thank you very much for asking. In a pinch when it had to be.
Until your real education announced itself, you mean?
Nothing like a big remote campus for that. But you would have observed plenty of that over so many years, wouldn't you?
I'm sure there actually must have been many dull moments, but in other and very real ways, there was never a dull moment. How could there be? There were literally tens of thousands of you and your ilk, and many hundreds of me and my lot. All of us careening together over those old corridors, thinking we were doing something important for ourselves and each other, the daily dramas we played out.
Not many are lucky enough to stay at university for a half century, emeritus.
I could have stayed even longer. I had just published a new book, but I had waited long enough.
Waited for what?
For this, and this, and this. For the time which you seem to covet, for reasons I still haven't heard you explain. For the time and place to make this, and all these clamoring images in my head, for time and place, finally to put aside the words and lines and stanzas and books, all of the flat black words and straight lines, trade them in for some color and texture. I waited too long.
No one else is sorry for all those words you wrote. You made a gift of them to us.
So I've been made to understand, but I can't get that time back now. And now it's too late for me. For these, for all of this, for what I really am.
What you really are? I hope we are more than just one thing. You taught us as much. I seem to remember Whitman. I am large. I contain multitudes.
Heavens, Whitman you pull out for me. No, I had become what I did for a living, instead of doing what I really was. I waited too long and got too old, stayed comfortable and mercenary, and did what came readily to me, literature. I could whirl around with my mind, and I thought, all of our endless analysis and talk. But this is physical. For this, I need my body, and that's getting harder and harder for me to muster.
Your studio is brimming with work. You seem to have mastered that well enough.
My results strike me as elderly, little like their creator. My product suffers the inevitable compromises of my process. Funny though, it's starting to remind me a bit of my girlhood stuff. Somehow I've managed to skip completely over a period of anything mature and powerful and fully realized. I've managed to create bookends. On the one side, promising juvenilia. On the other, mannered retiree hobbyists with nothing of real substance in between. There, have I sufficiently dampened your appetite for my, which was it, the diptych?
The diptych with the vines, the heat shimmer overhead rising, the ash plume overhead.
That's what you think it is?
That's what it is to me. That's what I see and feel from it.
Are you sure? You're at the right artist studio? I never painted any such thing. What do you do anyway? That you're apparently so rich you can travel around amassing trophies, and don't look at me like I've got 3 heads. Just because I'm old and speak directly doesn't mean I'm crazy.
Fair enough. Because I can spend a couple $1,000 on your paintings doesn't mean I'm rich.
Never mind then. I'm merely asking after the welfare of an ostensibly promising former student.
I'm recently retired.
Oh, you're too young to be retired.
I cashed out of an equity position. I was among a handful. of charter execs, a muddling niche technology firm just waiting for the right suitor. It started to feel like swimming in oatmeal. You talk about mercenary. I became someone, but the very weird definition of the man working for the man. They didn't pay me to leave. That much was contractual. We parted all smiling and scheduling lunch, but in fairly short order, I moved away, changed my contact numbers.
You want to buy my diptych because you have far too much money and time on your hands? What are you, having a crisis and decorating a McMansion?
I want to buy your diptych because it ignites me, and because I can't quite figure out how to look at it, which ignites me even more. And because you were my teacher, the teacher, what, that teacher, the one, yes, the one I was mad for, yes, okay, and denied it, always denied it. And because here I see you made something completely new of yourself.
Too little, too late. Didn't you hear me say?
I want to buy your diptych because I want to think I'm starting my transformation earlier than you and maybe starting it on time.
I see. No offense, dear, but transformation to what? I always knew the flame I had to uncover and attempt to rekindle. It was always there with me from childhood. What do you have?
Well, that's the hard question, isn't it? You always manage to cut through the murk to ask the discomforting question, Professor. And I still can't, right this second. I'm hoping I can sometime soon.
Sometime soon.
Yes.
Well, don't take too long about it. Listen, you will want to hear me now about this, but I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. You give serious consideration to one last piece of unwanted advice from your old Apple professor, and I will sell you the paintings.
Such a deal. I'm sure it'll be fine. What is it? What could it be?
Just this. If, as you quest, as you introspect and examine and reflect, if you find that there's no real there, if you find no personal inner compulsion that you absolutely must home to an edge, if you find tepid where you thought you might strive lava or ice, if you lack, that is, a master force that you absolutely must serve, then please acknowledge as much and be glad of that. Take that as your answer. Back away, back your face away from pressing against the mirror. Be gratefully humble to turn your attention to serving others, however you might, in any of the countless ways that are actually needed. What say? Deal?
Of course. Once my teacher, always my teacher, apparently.
I find that it does still rear up in me from time to time. Take the paintings, take them in trade, a simple trade for what I asked of you. It's good that you came to see me after so long. I definitely remember you now. You were never unremarkable.